is it true that we can't? Because the truth is, if it's an emotion, you can control it. The same way you decide that I can smile, it's the same way you can literally control this emotion called anger. Everyone's got the control over that. We all have a part to play when it comes to our emotion. So the question is, what is anger? Anger is simply a representation of an event in your mind that causes you to express rage and frustration. Okay. Now, say for instance, if I find something offensive and you do something offensive and I get offended, I'm going to react. And once I react, boom, I'm expending all this anger. So here's the cycle. Your thoughts affect your emotions affect your actions, and your actions affect your results. That's how life is, that cycle. And when it comes to anger, there's one particular equation I want you guys to remember. E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. E meaning event. You can't control the events of life, okay? E is the event. You can't control all the events. There are certain things you can control, and there are certain things you cannot control. E is the event. R is your response. R is your response. So E is the event, R is your response, and watch this, the O is the outcome. There's only one part you're in control of, and that is your response to every single situation. You're in control of every single response. You can choose to respond negatively, and you can respond positively, or you can just respond neutrally and decide, I'm not going to respond to that situation because I know what the outcome is going to be. The reason why I'm talking about this today is this. You can't control idiots. You can't control foolish people. You can't control offensive people. You can't control what they do. You can't control people's opinion. You can't control what the world sees and how the world responds to you. But the one thing you can But the question is, what kind of person do you want to be? I just want you to imagine that you are like a button, that if someone pushes the button, you just go flying off. If you allow people to get too close to you to push that button, they will forever be controlling you, and they'll forever be controlling your emotion. And that's definitely something you do not want. If you allow people to start controlling you, even when they're not there, they'll be controlling you. Okay. So someone says, how can I prevent anger before it grows? Okay. I love that. I love that. The best way to prevent anger before it grows is to literally go into that angry situation mentally. Take a typical scenario, play it out in your mind, and then play out the response you want to give it. Now, the more you rehearse it, it's almost like a play. The more you rehearse it in your head, every time you face that same situation, your brain just thinks, oh, we're doing that rehearsal. Because there's one thing I've got to share with you guys. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not. Your brain cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not. So if you play out a scenario in your mind's eye, and you in that moment are able to pick your response, and you do it over and over, believe you me, the next time you're in that situation, you're just automatically going to realize, wow, I'm actually not responding negatively. I'm actually responding positively. Why? You have done that mental rehearsal. The reason why most people don't respond well is because the last rehearsal they did was a negative one. They weren't even planning it. They were just subjected to that emotion. They responded, punched someone, said something, scream, shout, throw table across the room. And the brain says, wow, every time I'm in that situation, that's what I should do. Okay. Someone said, what if you have a fight? Well, here's the thing. Avoid getting into the fight. What is it? What are your buttons? First thing I'd like you to understand is, what are the buttons? What gets you angry? For some people, you might push them to the absolute edge. It will take a lot for them to get angry. Others, someone can look at you funny and you get angry. So you got to ask yourself, what are my buttons? How do I push your button? So real quickly, if you're on here right now, what are the things that get on your nerves? What are the things that get on your nerves? Because if there's one thing I'll share with you guys today, you've got to learn not to get offended too easily. People who get offended too easily, the ones who harbor so much anger and frustration. And watch this. 1 minute of anger can contaminate your emotion and your immune system for 24 hours. Just getting angry for 1 minute can contaminate your whole immune system for 24 hours. The same is laughter as well. Okay. Can I change the factors that get me angry? You you can't change the factors that get you angry, pricey, okay? But what you can change is your response to those factors. That's the only thing you can change. You can change your response to those factors. You can't change it, what people are going to do. Let's say, for instance, I can't change the fact that people randomly call me and try to sell me PPI, okay, while I'm busy trying to do my work. But what I can do is to be polite, or if I've got a bit of time, play some practical jokes on them. I can't. Here's how I need you to understand this. Every time you get angry, you poison your emotion, you poison your system. Anger is poison. And every time you get into that poisonous state of mind, you get angry so quickly, it's like fuel in your body, and it does really, really affect. It causes stress. Anger. The last time you got angry, what happened? You were stressed. You were stressed out. You were stressed out. And anger is not a positive emotion that I would actually advise anybody to engage in. No. But it takes training. You've got to train your mind. So for some of us on here right now, you can easily write down five things that get on your nerves. 5 things that get on your nerves. For some of you, it might be a wife, a husband, certain things that they do that get on your nerves. Okay. Now, if you notice, every time you get angry at that thing, you're just damaging that relationship. Me to be getting caught up. For some of you, oh, my mom gets on my nerves, man. My dad gets on my nerves, man. I hate him. He's frustrating. Ah, yeah, I understand that. So that frustration, it's understandable. But ask yourself, is this emotion worth it? Is it worth it for me to get angry right now? Is it helping me to become a better person? Or is it draining my energy? That's the key question you want to ask yourself, because anger is something that really, really will cause you to become someone who can't tolerate. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, do not let the sun go down in your anger. Do not let the sun go down. If you're angry at someone for something, please bury it. Bury it, because when we don't bury situations, we hold people hostage in our mind. And it's not them that's suffering, it is us that's suffering, because we're the one carrying all these negative emotions in our heads. If you just joined us, we're talking about anger, how to deal with anger. And the first thing I said is, number one, know your buttons. Number two, I need you to play the scenario out in your head. If you can play the scenario out in your head ahead of time, the next time that happens, your brain knows how to respond to that. Okay, very, very easily. When someone thinks they know everything, but they don't. So Harvey says, when someone thinks they know everything, but they don't, that winds you up. And you know what? Half the time when we get angry, it's never really about the other person. It's really about us. Because do you have the grace and the tolerance to be able to tolerate that individual? Because I'm sure there are certain things you and I are doing that's winding somebody else up. I know. I know there are certain things you do that's winding somebody else up. So no one is perfect in that world of, oh, I'm all good. Here's the question. I bet some of you on here right now, you've gotten someone angry. You've gotten someone angry. So we have to live in a world where it was Gandhi that said, if we take an eye for an eye, the world will be blind. If we live with an eye for an eye, the world will be blind. We shouldn't be living an eye for an eye. You offended me, I'll offend you, boom. No, then there has to be a level of tolerance that we have to walk with when it comes to anger. So what are some of the practical things that you need to do? For me, I think I've gotten to a stage now where if something winds me up, I have pre-played a scenario in my head that the next time I go into it, it's like this automatic thing that kicks in, and I respond from that. All right, cool, breathe, relax. Like I think there was a time where yeah, someone in the office did something and I could have been shouting and screaming. I'm like, what's the worth of me shouting and screaming? If I shout and scream, it will frustrate me and I won't be able to function the rest of the day. So I chose to be breathe, stay calm. Okay. What can I learn from this situation? First question, what can I learn from this situation? Second question, what's good about this situation? Because I value my mind. People pride me in my energy and people pride me in my happiness. But the secret to my happiness is protecting my energy level. And if anger is the one thing that causes me to feel that way, then I'm making sure that I'm getting rid of that. Okay. So anger is what we're talking about tonight. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with your anger? It's not something that's easily dealt with. You know, it can drain us, it can frustrate us. But when you get to a stage where you decide, I'm no longer going to be getting angry for no apparent reason, I'm going to take a bit more control because you're not an animal. You're not an animal, you're a human being. And here's what I often say, you know, my wife and I will just have conversations about people that wind her up, and everybody's going to wind you up. And I say, you know what? You know, a scorpion is always going to be a scorpion. A snake is always going to be a snake. If you have people around you who are like that, see them for who they are, but just make sure you distance yourself from things that frustrate you too easily. Okay, that's very very important. So tonight we're talking about anger. We're talking about how it frustrates us. We're talking about how do we practically deal with the emotion called anger. Okay. And there is someone that says something so beautifully. It said, anger is one letter away from danger. Anger is one letter away from danger, and that letter is D, meaning you are one step away from danger. How many times have you gotten angry and you've said something that has affected a relationship, or you've gotten angry and you've offended somebody else, or you've gotten angry and you've picked up the chair and thrown it across the room, or you've gotten angry and you've done something or said something. I know I've been in a situation where I've gotten angry. I remember one time my dad and I were having a conversation about something many years ago, and I got angry. And there was a glass table in my living room. And from that rage and anger, because when you get into that state, adrenaline builds up in your body. So flight kicks in. Your brain says, right, cool, it's time to fight. And that adrenaline, you want to do something with it. You find yourself start to shiver, you know, your body starts to shake. And it's either you want to run, or you freeze, or you fight. It's either fight, freeze, or flight. So in that moment, clench my fist, punch the glass table. There was glass everywhere, blood everywhere. I still got the scar to today. And I look back and I'm like, whoa, why did you do that for? What's the point? How many times have you gotten angry and later on looked back and said, oh, I wish I didn't do it. I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't respond like that. Okay. So important. Real quickly, type up anything you've picked up on anger. Has this helped you? What are the things and practical tips you've gotten from tonight? Because tonight is all about Q&A Tuesday, and we're talking about anger. How do we deal with it? What practical things have you gotten out of it? Because I tell you what, life, you're going to have people that frustrate you, but you can't afford to allow them to control you, because watch this. If you allow people to control you, you become their puppet. You become their puppet. They've got you on a leash and they control you. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you decide now, from now on, I will no longer be controlled by people. I will no longer be controlled by these negative emotions. If anything, I'm going to take control of these emotions and I'm going to be in the driver's seat of my own life. I'm not saying that's going to be easy. Don't get me wrong. You could finish watching this right now. Someone's going to wind you up. But understand this. Anytime you feel that in emotions, and for a lot of us, we feel it coming up. We know, we can sense it. We can sense it. And all of a sudden, you're like, right, cool. You can just feel the energy. All right, what am I going to do? It's like the storm's coming. We can start preparing for the storm. Some practical thing is for some of you, you might say, you know what? I'm going to walk away. I'm going to keep quiet. For some of us, you just need to not say anything. Because if you open your mouth, you might destroy the whole family if you opened your mouth. So very, very important that we understand that anger is an emotion that we can all control. And by controlling those emotions, it helps us to protect our relationship. Helps us to protect our relationship. The final couple of minutes that we have, I'm going to take some questions from you guys with regards to today's topic. Anybody have? Someone said something so powerful. They said the best fighters are they're never angry. They're always centered. So it's quite interesting. Speak when you are angry and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. Speak when you are angry and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. So whenever someone says something or does something, don't respond immediately because that emotion is still in you. Give yourself about an hour and then respond. Because if you respond in the same moment, you're going to say or do something that will damage you or the relationship. Okay? Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burnt. When you hold on to anger, it's the one burning your hand, and you can't expect the person, I'm going to throw this coal at you. Nah, you're the one that's getting hurt. You are the one that's getting hurt. So be very careful next time you get angry, how you handle it. Understand that when you get into that state, you want to be in control. Okay. I don't usually lose my temper, but if I get angry, it's true. I'm scary. Most of us are scary people. We turn into Incredible Hulk when we get angry. Okay. Someone said, I realized that if my thoughts immediately affect my body, I should be careful about what I think. Now, if I get angry, I ask myself why I feel that way. If I can find the source of my anger, I can turn that negative energy into something positive. Okay. We've seen sort of Incredible Hulk and how Hulk came into things. Anger is the enemy of non-violence, and pride is the monster that swallows it up. Okay. Anger is the enemy of non-violence, and pride is the monster that swallows it up. To be angry is to revenge the faults of others, of ourselves. So revenge is not necessary. We have to be very, very watchful and very, very sensitive how we handle that situation. Someone says, deep breaths and I'm fine. Yeah. And, it might take you about a couple of weeks, a couple of months. So for some people, a couple of years before they actually handle, that anger. I have sadness in me. I have anger in me. I have heartbreak in me, someone says. So we all have these emotions in us, but we can definitely control how we respond to life. It makes you a better person. It makes you a better person when you decide, right, I'm not going to let that person's emotion, whether they're there or not there. That's why for me, if you offend me, I don't have time for me to moan about you. No, I've got the gigabytes in my brain. They're supposed to be used to store great ideas, not to store your mess. Nah. Yeah. So someone says the opposite of anger is not calmness, it's empathy. Understanding that the person who is actually getting angry, they got some work to do. Nikki says, I bottle my anger up and then I can flip. How can I change this into a better way? Don't bottle it up. Start walking in a bit of forgiveness. It's like, you know what? Here are the words you use. Every time I get angry, it's dangerous. So I'm going to let go. Just by saying those words, some people think these words, oh, why am I saying these words? They're so silly and so simple. They work because bottling it up doesn't really work. Okay. So decide, I forgive and let go. I forgive and let go. Okay. Someone says it makes you happier doing the right thing. Exactly, it does. It literally does. I have lots of great ideas, but I can't get them out. Is that great ideas about anger or general ideas? If it's general ideas, write them down on paper. Okay. Why is everybody so anxious and depressed these days? This generation is incredibly weak. Well, it's not that this generation is weak, it's just the fact that there's so many distractions, and the distraction takes you away from your real self. And that's why I always advise people not to spend your life on social media, although social media is a very powerful tool. You can't spend the rest of your life on social media because it takes you away from knowing who you are, your strength, your power, your grace, your ability. So, really encouraging you guys that whatever you do, make sure you stand your ground and get to know you. Get to know you. You're not an angry person, okay? You're not an angry person. You're an amazing person, okay? The last quote I'm going to leave with you. It says, "You reclaim your power by loving what you were once taught to hate." You reclaim your power by loving what you were once taught to hate. It's easy to love those who are lovable, but to love those who are not lovable, that takes great character. Okay. Depression is so hard to cope with. Can't focus on school or anything. Don't feel in control of myself. Well, let me give you a couple of tips with depression and how to handle it. Number one, physical exercises really, really does help. Okay. Getting out doing physical exercise because it's literally your brain thinking about the past situation, your brain thinking about the things that's missing in your life that causes you to feel heavy. Okay. Go back on my YouTube and you'll be able to see the series we did on depression. So very, very important that you understand that you are not depression that you are going through. Okay. So it's very, very important. Let me just go through some of these questions. Does it show? So Gina says, does it show a regulation of emotion? Is anger good for you? Gina says, is anger good for you? It depends. Okay, if I'm playing a basketball game and someone scores on me, I'm getting angry, and I'm using that anger to go and score. Okay, so it's very important that you understand that emotion you can use it for good or for bad. Very important. Manage. So, so important. Guys, it's been amazing talking to you guys once again. Thank you so much for another evening where we've been able to sit and chat and talk about life and how we can improve it. Whatever you do, remember E plus R equals O. Emotions, event plus your response equals the outcome. You are always in control. Don't ever think that you're not in control. You are always in control. Okay. So good night, each and every one of you. I pray that as you sleep, you would have strength in the night. You wake up in the morning with greater strength. Thank you so much. Tell your friends about the Action Jackson Show every night, 10:30 p.m. Okay. And I'm going to be giving some signed copies of my book away tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday Wisdom. I'm going to be sharing quotes and books and things that have changed my life. And I'm going to be starting with my book because my book changed my life in the process of writing my books. For any one of you who like reading out there, that's going to be optional. Okay. Guys, take care. God bless you. Good night. Sweet.